Thank you and welcome to the December 21st meeting of the Humboldt County Association of Governments Board. And at this time, can we get a roll call?
Supervisor Steve Madrone. Mayor Adeline Jones.
Here.
Mayor Kim Burgell.
Here.
Councilmember Skip Jorgensen. Councilmember Stacy Atkins Salazar. Mayor Pro Tem Mike Johnson.
Here.
Councilmember Robert Orr.
Here.
Councilmember Jack West.
Here.
PAC Member Arroyo. PAC Member Alstrand.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. And at this time, we'll adjourn as the HCOG board and reconvene as the Policy Advisory Committee. And at this time, we'll open up public comment. Seeing none, we'll go to the consent calendar. We have 3 items. The approval of the minutes for the November 16th meeting, the Humboldt Transit Authority fiscal year 23-24 local transportation fund claim, and the revised HCOG Transportation Development Act rules. Does anybody wish to pull anything? And we don't have any, looks like we don't have any public comment. So we'll entertain a motion.
I move we approve the consent calendar as delivered.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, passes. And we will enter into the PAC action items. Consultant selection for the multimodal mobility marketing plan.
Great, thank you. I can give a staff report on that. So this item is coming up. It's going to be a project that HCOG manages through the TERSIP Cycle 5 grant, which is a grant award that the Humboldt Transit Authority got last year. And part of our commitment on that grant was to help with just providing some support. And one of the things we were going to be doing is providing assistance for RFPs and managing a marketing firm to really do the very best we can to promote transit and really present it in an exciting way. We want to make it convenient. We want to make it fun. We want to kind of change the perception. And within the grant, there's funding to really kind of hit hard on that and make sure that it's kind of presented in that way. HTA has already done some background. They've developed a brand with a local firm that is Ride Humboldt. I think we've heard some reports from PAC member Arroyo on that in the past. So we have kind of the brand, but we haven't rolled it out. And we don't have any like collateral materials to go with it. So we did an RFP and got 3 proposals, and we really felt like the committee that judged the proposals felt like Studio 6 just really presented kind of the most, for lack of better words, like breath of fresh air. The others really, I think, kind of seemed a little more run-of-the-mill, kind of what you generally experience with transit materials. But we really felt like Studio 6 did a great job of presenting it in that sort of fun, welcoming, kind of different way of thinking. So they were selected as the highest scoring firm. However, the budget didn't quite align with what we had available, and we didn't put a budget in the RFP. And we did that on purpose. We didn't exactly know what we had to work with. We have funds from this grant, but there's also other grants that as we go for them and as HTA goes for them, we're always building in a marketing budget because we know that it's so important to really make sure people know about the service and how to use the service and how convenient the service is. And then to get that word out is going to take resources. So for example, the REAP 2.0 grant we had that includes microtransit for McKinleyville, we had a line item in there for marketing. And so we weren't, as we sent out this RFP, we knew some of the sources we had available. We didn't know all of the sources we would have available for implementation. So we really wanted a firm that would be flexible with us. So I have had just initial conversations with Studio 6 about their proposal and if they'd be willing to kind of tailor it to be more commensurate with the budget we have available, which at this point we've kind of set firmly as really a total of $200,000. The first $100,000 of that would be really getting all of the background reporting, and I think we included the scope in there that they had proposed. I think that's in your packet. But really, we want to simplify kind of the brand audit, the background. I think we've done a lot of that work, and HTA's done a lot of that work. So it's just more of a matter of providing it to the firm as opposed to them needing to generate it themselves. So we've had, kind of marketing efforts be included in many different, like even way back, or, a few years ago before I started the Mobility on Demand study, that had kind of marketing recommendations. The Transit Development Plan had marketing recommendations. So we've been down this road a few times, just without the resources to really launch and get it done. And so we really are recommending that Studio 6 be the firm that can kind of take that through. So we would have, hopefully, I would be able to negotiate with them, get kind of that background, that marketing plan done as quickly as possible, and then launch right into the implementation where they would be developing all the collateral materials, helping us figure out, do we need, commercials or radio ads, or what kind of print do we want to do? They would be revising all of the transit information to really kind of have that unified look like you would expect from any, kind of any branding effort. And I think the city of Eureka is a great example of that, where we really just see that unifying on every paper that leaves the city of Eureka. It's from here as soon as you see it. And so I think that that's a good example of a successful job that we would see kind of replicated in this context. So the request is really, and one thing I did want to mention that we thought was really unique about this proposal, the firm is from Colorado. They specifically focus on transit marketing, and in their proposal is a 10-day site visit where they bring a team of, I think in here they proposed 2 during conversations. He said, actually, I would like to bring 3 people, so that will be one of the revisions, and that's because they want their whole team to be here. We're going to do it after they have the HTA, the new wraps on the buses. So one of the people they bring is a transit photographer. And then that way we'll have a micro transit vehicle, we'll have a full size vehicle, and maybe even a paratransit vehicle that that will already have the new wraps, so that all the new photo collateral material they develop will be in front of those new wraps, really kind of amplifying the brand. But it also gives this firm a chance to be here. As we know, Humboldt's very unique. And so I don't think it's easy to kind of picture, us from afar. And so getting 10 days, I thought that was a really nice, the other firms, if they had a site visit, it was more, like a day or a day and a half. And I think it really, to even just ride the routes, which they plan on doing, it'll take a while. Excited about that. But those are some of the things that stood out about this particular firm. The ask in terms of the vote is to authorize me to negotiate and then execute a contract of up to $200,000 with Studio 6.
Yes.
I just have a couple questions. They have to do with beauty, of course. So you said new wraps.
Mm-hmm.
So do we have a new logo for does HTA have a new logo?
So not exactly HTA having a new, it's a little more nuanced than that. What it is it's a Ride Humboldt logo. So the HTA buses, which is like, and the Eureka Transit Service buses, they essentially will have a new logo on they'll have the Ride Humboldt wrap with the Ride Humboldt logo. And then they would have room still for advertising, but it won't be, some of the buses now you see are like completely an advertisement. There's a couple challenges with that. One, it's very expensive to put those on, and then if they don't want to continue advertising, it's hard to get those replaced. So these new ones would be unified with like kind of a really big Ride Humboldt wrap, and then have a space on them for advertising, so they can still generate that revenue, but it'll be more of a piece that is easy to pull on and off as advertisers change. So that is convenient. But the really important thing about the Ride Humboldt is we have so many services. So what we're really trying to do with Ride Humboldt is, even if there's going to be Arcata and Mad River Transit, and that's going to continue, their look is entirely different. But there'd be a way to put that Ride Humboldt brand on that bus so that that it's all part of this unified system. And what we're really working towards with that is having things like fare capping, this tap on, tap off system. So, if you're stepping on a bus that has that Ride Humboldt logo, exactly how you're going to be able to pay on that bus, the fare on that bus, it's not going to change from system to system. And so we're working kind of behind the scenes, separate from the marketing effort, to really make those efficiencies and make it really convenient for riders and not have some of those barriers that people have of like, oh, do I have enough change to get on the bus? Well, it turns out, and more people will know this through our marketing efforts, that, you know, if you have anything with a chip on it, you know, any kind of card with a chip on it, that's one way you can pay, and you can tap on and tap off any bus that has, you know, that will have the Ride Humboldt logo. And so we're working with even Yurok Transit is providing Transit Now, you know, which used to be the old KT-Net route, which is, you know, Hoopa, Klamath, Orleans, and all the way to Willow Creek. And they'll still be run by Yurok Transit. It'll look like a Yurok Transit bus, but they'll be able to put that Ride Humboldt decal on it and know, again, that fare capping will apply, that it's part of the same system. They can tap on, tap off, because we'll have all the same technology on any bus that has that logo. So it's a real good way to allow places to keep their individualization, but still kind of get us all under the same unifying, you know, image, so that people kind of know what they're getting when they get on the bus.
And does this group, do they approve of the logo?
Yeah, that was actually, we showed it to them in the brief conversation we had before this, as we kind of, you know, made sure that they'd be open to negotiating. And I think me and the folks from HCA that were on the call, we kind of held our breath, because it's, you know, this is something that they could do. Studio 6 could certainly do that and would be generally part of their services. But since HTA had already taken that step some time ago and has the brand ready and the whole package ready, we didn't want to have to reinvent the wheel. And I was so relieved that the Studio 6 team was complimentary about the brand that's been developed. They liked the gradation. They immediately commented that, you know, it's going to transfer really easily on something as big as a wrap and something down to embroidery, which we're going to want a lot of those kinds of things too, as well. You know, with the drivers having the Ride Humboldt logo on their shirts and things like that. And so they were seemed to be very, very satisfied with what they were seeing, that they could really work with it. So we were happy about that, because I would imagine it's a little bit of, you know, kind of just personal when a brand is developed and working with it so much. So yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I was particularly impressed by the number of women that are on the team. It's practically an all-women team, so that impressed me for one thing. And then I was going to ask, but I think you answered pretty much for me, that they would be willing to execute a contract that wouldn't exceed $200,000, even though their cost was considerably higher.
Yeah, they're really excited about working on the project. I think they're excited about coming to California and having a project here. I think that they are excited about the really ambitious ridership targets we've set. So we're trying to double ridership in very short order. And they did comment in their proposal they've never actually seen this ambitious of a target. They didn't want to be, you know, totally responsible if we didn't achieve it, because it is a very, very high bar to double ridership. But I think they were also very excited at being you know, involved in a project where the prospect is there and the desire is there to really see transit kind of taken in a new light, and all of the work and motivation we all have collectively between HTA, the other agencies, and HCOG to kind of see it presented that way.
Thank you.
One more.
Just one last one. So when I was reading, that was really impressive, the way that they work. But I was curious, there was one where they said that they'd increased ridership to 4,000. Did you see that one? Anyway,
yeah.
I thought that was interesting. It's the art one, I think. 27. But the thing I like about them is they're welcoming. Like, if you look at the colors, they're not like drab and dull and boring. Just like our region is not drab and dull and boring. So anyway, thank you.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that I read in their comments on looking at the Redwood Coast Express, and how they saw it as a chance to ride through the world's tallest trees and soaring coastline views. And I was thinking, you know, you leave Trinidad and start heading south, and yes, you're going to change buses in there at some point to get on the bus that goes to Ukiah, but you do go through all those, and I'm guessing they're going to get some point go down the avenue and pick up riders in there, like maybe a Weot or Myers Flat, and get back on the highway and heading down, and they're looking forward to that. And that they're gonna make a site visit to each system. So they're gonna ride every one of our transit systems, including the senior bus. So I hope they got somebody that's 55 or older. So. But I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do. So. And is there any public comment? And nobody online. Any other comments, questions?
Speaking of soaring views, you know, the Vista Point up there at McKinleyville, you can't even get into it if you're going north. And the last time you saw the Pacific Ocean was crossing the Golden Gate Bridge. So it's a really dysfunctional facility. So we've been talking with Caltrans, and as a county, we own the parcel immediately south of it. It's a slight little diversion I'm doing here, but we're working on a plan to create what we call Vista Point Park. That would everybody would get off at Airport Road, and then we'd extend Airport Road or Letts Avenue up into the Vista Point, and on the county parcel perhaps build a visitor center, day-use picnic area, and a bicycle campground for the coastal trail. So at that point, people would be able to get into the Vista Point, whether you're going north or south or whatever. So something I've been working on for about 25 years, and we finally got clearance from FAA to transfer the property out of the airport property into Public Works and Parks. So we'll be talking with Caltrans more and others about that. So that will improve people's access to these soaring views of the ocean, shall we say. Thanks for the sidetrack, sorry.
Well, this is a good time for it. All right, well, any other? Seeing none, they'll entertain a motion. Yes.
I'm happy to make the motion. I move that the PAC recommend the HCOG board direct the executive director to enter into contract negotiations with Studio 6 for the multimodal marketing plan and marketing services.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Thank you. Motion passes. And we have no informational items, but we do have a presentation.
All right, I'm gonna
Get your Kleenex ready.
I know I'm gonna try to get through this, and I'm gonna read the proclamation for Debbie. Honoring Debbie Eger for her service with Humboldt County Association of Governments. Whereas Debbie Eger has been employed with Humboldt County Association of Governments since September 13th, 1999. Whereas Debbie Eger is the second longest serving employee in the Humboldt County Association of Governments history. And whereas Debbie Eger has served HCOG in the following capacities: Administrative Assistant, Administrative Services Officer, and Fiscal Administrative Officer. And whereas Debbie Eger has been instrumental in the day-to-day operations of HCOG and ensuring smooth function and contributing to the growth of the organization for over 2 decades. And whereas Debbie Eger has set an example for dedicated public service over her long career at HCOG, demonstrating commitment, honesty, integrity, and a deep sense of service to our member jurisdictions and the people of our region. And whereas Debbie Eger has worked to promote the mission statement of the Humboldt County Association of Governments, which is to develop, operate, and maintain a well-coordinated, balanced transportation system that is safe, efficient, and provides good access to all cities, communities, and recreational facilities, and into adjoining regions. A balanced multimodal transportation and system includes, but is not limited to, highway, public transit, aviation, marine, railroads, recreation, bicycle, pedestrian, and utility systems. Now, therefore, this governing board does hereby present this proclamation of appreciation to Debbie Eger as an expression of the board's and staff's gratitude for her dedication of service to the Humboldt County Association of Governments.
Thank you.
Tatiana, could you take a picture? Maybe we can have you come up and we can all take a picture of Debbie and Beth. Well, I think so. Maybe if we all stand and try to get a little bit close.
Should she bring her proclamation?
Oh, do you want us down there? Well, I think it'll be okay up here. What do you think? Should we get
She
down
can
there?
stand right there and then
Should I come up?
Star in the middle.
All right, well, we have to make sure that we're in front of anybody else. Okay, how are we doing? Yeah, I would suggest that.
Steve and I are throwing the whole thing off because we're too tall. Oh, Jack, yeah.
We're gonna hear your speech, right?
Yeah.
The lights are really strong, so it's kind of, I think it can be pretty big.
Oh, it can be adjusted.
It can be adjusted.
The lighting in here is miserable.
Bad.
The beauty to not,
Well,
to not make it into your chamber.
No, and
I think it'll be okay.
but I'm starting to bring flowers because it drives me crazy.
Yeah, oh, definitely.
They are gorgeous.
Thank you, yes. I just, it's really important. There's two there, everybody, you guys can fight for them. It's the end of the season.
Well, I
Thank
just,
you.
a brief moment in time here. I just wanted to say, after working on the ASCE report card in those days and serving on the TAC, and then Merritt came along and he was much more qualified than I was, so he took my TAC spot. But coming back, you were one of the first ones to welcome me back in here and a part of the board, and after having, it was all new to me again, so thank you for that. And she's got multiple layers. She's a Frenchie owner, she's an RVer. She loves camping, as I do. She has her kids in the Washington area, so I wish you lots of joy and travels, and I'll build on this at the party.
Okay, thank you.
But I guess we do still have a job here. At this time, we will adjourn as the HCOG board and adjourn as the PAC and reconvene as the HCOG board and approve the PAC recommendations by motion.
I move we approve the PAC recommendations.
Second.
We have motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion passes. And now we come to the officers for the 2024 year.
I think item A first.
Oh, I forgot about the signatory.
Yeah, I can give just a brief. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but so we are revising the former resolution that we made way back in 2016, which was to basically, that was back when we kind of took everything away from the auditor. We started doing more things in-house. But we did have in the resolution a specific, it was for signatories, it was the executive director and the fiscal administrative officer. And we would, as of tomorrow when Debbie retires, we won't have that position anymore. Not to say we wouldn't have it again, but at the moment we won't have that. So we don't really have anybody qualified. And since, people change and job titles change and all these things are fluid, we're just suggesting to make it, the executive director's designee. And then that way, we'll put, I always want there to be two check signers, but that will just mean we don't have to redo the resolution every time we have, some kind of employee turnover. So that's.
Okay. Well, I do like the way we do grant applications and such as the city manager and or his designee. It's become standard, and I think it's a good thing. Any questions or comments from the board? And no public comment. I think it's a pretty standard thing here, so we'll take by motion.
I move the HCOG board adopt Resolution 2327, amending and restating Resolution 16-18, approving the HCOG executive director and their designee as the secondary signatory on all Coast Central Credit Union accounts.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. The motion passes. Work my way down through the pile of paper here. All right, so here we are to elect officers for the 23-24 year. The chair, a vice chair, an executive committee member, and a CalCog delegate, and to serve during the calendar year 2024. And as it's stated here, we can nominate a whole slate of officers and elect them with one motion and vote. So we'll open up first for chair, since it's the first thing listed.
Do you want to continue?
If the board wishes me to continue, I'd be happy to continue. I'm hard on myself sometimes. Okay. So we,
Do you want to continue as vice chair?
Yes, I wouldn't mind that at all.
Outstanding. Good.
That's 2 positions.
there we go.
Now, we don't have council member Stacy Atkins Salazar.
So
Now,
I do believe, sorry if I can just butt in here, but I do believe she'd be interested. I will say that she has, over the last few months, become very active in CalCog. She's attended the meetings, and so she's definitely, it takes a little bit to get your feet underneath, just like anything new. So I think she's just finally had a chance to attend some meetings in person, and so my sense is that she would like to continue in that role.
in CalCog, and
3 positions.
well, because if she was to be the executive committee member, the CalCog, and she's on the road charge committee, but she seems to be loving all of it.
Yeah, I think so.
So
Well, you know what they say about if you're not at the meeting.
that's right.
Yep. All right.
So we have nominations for myself as chair, our Mayor Jones as vice chair, and Councilmember Atkins Salazar as executive committee and CalCog.
I would move that we appoint all of those as slated.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion passes. Thank you all. Thank you for your support.
Thank you. You guys do well. And I have been reappointed for the next year as representative for the county. So I will be continuing to serve for 1 more year, and I'm very much appreciating that. So a
Good.
little consistency helps, right?
Yeah.
It does sometimes, yeah.
And we all know that I made the comment one time in a TAC meeting that sometimes it seems like those small counties and agencies are like a bunch of seagulls fighting over a
Yeah.
potato chip bag on the beach
Yeah.
because there's not enough to go around.
Never
But
is.
reporting out a little bit on my attending the North Deal meeting, I think you were there too, maybe, I can't remember, but District 1 received 16% of the money from Clean California for projects. And it's been transformational. If you go through Hoopa and up that way, Riadell, the bridge at Herrick and 101, it's made a big difference. As well as the highways are much cleaner. They've been able to support the crews that do the cleanup work. Some of them are private people that adopt a section. There's the road crews have been able to get out and work. I mean, it's been great. So it's sunsetting, but I think it's 2026 is all projects have to be completed by June of 26. So it's been great.
And I would say that Caltrans and especially Julia Peterson deserves a tremendous amount of thanks for her efforts in reaching out to all the cities, the counties, tribes to help make all this happen.
Yeah, takes a lot of coordination and a lot of working together. So, and I will say that during the wintertime, as you know from 299 last year, the Caltrans crews are out there, rain, shine, snow, wind, working, keeping things open, keeping things safe. And then when it's sunny and clear, they're moving the right-of-way up and clearing it so that they don't have the problems that they had. So it's constant work. So they deserve a lot of credit for that. Yeah.
I am so appreciative of this funding and Caltrans and Julia for her work. But I think actually what it presents is this issue that we're falling back into a situation where there's a lot of illegal dumping. And this is trying to help solve that problem, but it's still a short-term solution. And so at the county, I've been talking with Tom Madsen, and I hope we have a board discussion about this. I mean, are we really saving money by charging fees for dumping versus the costs of illegal dumping and the cleanup and the environmental damage? And I'm not sure we're getting ahead by charging fees. There was a time where it was free to dump, and there were transfer stations all over the place, and some of them have closed, like Redwood Valley used to have one. At any rate, it's just something that I think we need to look at long term. I don't know if that really fits under our purview exactly or not, but it's associated with roads, right, and transportation, and that's how you get the garbage there. And even with free mattress days and other things, and Caltrans currently has a big one up in McKinleyville, we still, I mean, I was picking up mattresses last week, you know, and I don't know what the issue is exactly. I know money is part of it for people, but it's also just other stuff. But we need to be looking at the long-term solutions to all of that. But again, I'm so grateful for this program right now, so.
It's been a big, I got some ideas on that too. I'll talk to you. But yes, Mayor
So-
Burgell.
Just on that caveat, I'd just like to say to anybody watching that those mattresses and couches and dressers and desks and all those things that you put out on the curb for someone to take, we find them in the green belts. That's where they end up. So if you be mindful of that when you put things out, that would be much appreciated.
Yeah,
Thank you.
goes on and on and on. Well, at this time, we have HCOG staff and PAC member reports, starting with our executive director.
Okay. Well, I want to give some really good news. We've had a really successful grant year this year, and we got one final awesome grant award this month that kind of just made us all really happy. So that was the Safe Streets and Roads for All, the regional safety plan that we'll be working on, kind of a Vision Zero plan for the entire region. Most of the tribal governments agreed to participate in that, so it really will be quite comprehensive. It's in total, I think about a $500,000 project, with about $400,000 of that being grant funded, and then all the different jurisdictions willing to chip in a little bit of matching funds that can be, mostly staff time. But I think, what it does is it really makes us eligible. We get the whole region kind of done at the same time, so it's very equitable. This is the planning grant, but you need this plan in place to apply for an implementation grant. So to actually do some of the construction projects that we need to see to reach that Vision Zero, to really get to that zero deaths on our roadway systems, to be eligible for those funding sources, we need this plan in place. And so we're just really pleased that we had, at the TAC level, just so many, all of our member agencies just really willing to work with us on putting in the application and really, commit to some hours. Even if you're getting compensated for the hours, it's still, we're all spread thin. Sometimes it's not just, like the money to pay the staff, which is always helpful, but it doesn't mean there's more hours to work with. So we're just really pleased that everybody prioritized it, saw the value in it. Even with so many of our jurisdictions kind of being at different stages of their own local streets, roads, and safety plans, this is a little bit different. It'll definitely tie those in and be complementary to it, but it's a little bit different flavor. And again, it really is the exact piece that's needed to be eligible for implementation funding. We're just really looking forward to that. I think we get about 3 years of implementation. The other thing the grant includes, so we'll kind of do a lot of, heat mapping, that kind of stuff, really figure out our high injury corridors, and be able to kind of focus on, kind of big picture, education campaigns, things like that, kind of honing in on where our problem spots are. I think we kind of all know, but we don't have a source to go to when it's time to write that grant, to really here we can rely on this data, we can rely on this study that's already been done, it's already been prioritized. So I think it'll be very valuable in that way. And then a pop-up demonstration project is funded for each jurisdiction with the grant as well. So after we kind of go through that process of doing the planning, then we're going to actually try out and have some funding to try out some of the measures we've contemplated, and we've just kind of preliminarily thought about, highlighting specifically intersections where we have a lot of jurisdictions coming together, and most of our cities have that. So one that came up, for example, was Herrick, where we've got Caltrans facilities, county facilities, City of Eureka facilities, kind of all there at the same spot. And so just coordination on that. Fortuna has those same interactions at some of their intersections where you've got like city, county, and Caltrans all kind of coming together and really needing to coordinate on the solutions for that. So this plan will give us a chance to work through some of that. And like I said, I think each city kind of has a similar intersection you can think of where you have, multiple jurisdictions coming together at one point. And those would be, kind of what we pitched at least initially as good places to highlight for demonstration projects, because we'll have that extra capacity to really work through how we want to see them pop up and keep everybody coordinated. So that was great news. And then I also just wanted to assure you all that, I think Debbie's shoes will be absolutely impossible to fill. But we have done our very best to, make sure we have a smooth transition. And, Amy's not here right now because she's setting up for the party, but Debbie has done just a phenomenal job working through that transition and making sure that Amy's ready for this role. She definitely is, and she has everything she needs to be successful. And we really have Debbie to thank for that, for really just being so gracious to just make sure we have good procedures and that we all know how to follow them and we've got it documented. A small agency like ours, we don't have any redundancy, right? We don't have two people that do the same job. It's just not big enough for that. So, losing anybody is tough, but losing someone who's been here for 24 years and that institutional knowledge, it is sometimes a little scary. So I think I just really want to give Debbie a lot of credit for just helping to make this transition as smooth as possible. I think it really speaks to how much she loves HCOG and wants to see us all be successful even after she finishes up. So just a big thanks to that and assurance. I'm sure it doesn't mean there won't be any bumps in the road, but I think we have done a lot to try to smooth that out. But still, thank you for your patience. And I keep making the joke that now I really have to run this organization. So we'll see what that looks like in the years to come.
You're too kind.
Just a couple of quick updates. The draft 2024 SHOP, that's the State Highway Operation and Protection Program, that's Caltrans funding for projects. That cycle is currently open for public comment until January 19th. There are 17 projects in Humboldt County, and 5 of those projects are new. So if anybody's interested in checking that out and providing public comment, I can provide that. And the fiscal year 24-25 Sustainable Transportation Planning Grant Cycle closes on January 18th, and that includes planning funding for climate adaptation planning. So thanks.
Thank you. Any board member reports? Nope. Oh, yes. One more from the director.
Back a step. One more announcement. Just when you were mentioning the cycle, I wanted to comment on that because we are applying for another grant with HTA, and that is through Caltrans. It's their Sustainable Communities Transportation Planning Grant, specific on strategic partnerships for transit. That is the focus of this grant, like one of the components of that overall grant, and so it's a specific thing you can go for with that has a specific kind of allotment with it. And so we've been working with HTA we got that very thorough presentation a couple, maybe last meeting or the meeting before, the transit development plan. That's a short-term 5-year plan. But we really, in talking with HTA and looking at the really ambitious ridership increases we want to see, we really need to look a little further out than 5 years to be prepared for what's next and what kind of funding. HTA has been very successful bringing in the $38 million TIRSIP grant, but they had to look a little farther than 5 years to kind of put that together and think about what they needed. So we wanted to really build partnerships that would let us look beyond the 5-year cycle and really make sure we're as coordinated as possible in terms of all the transit agencies. Look at, for example, Blue Lake the Blue Lake Rancheria was providing transit. They have stopped. What's the solution there? What do we, how do we fill that in, and what's the optimal solution? And the other really unique thing we get to do with this grant is actually look out that far and tie it to land use. So something that's been missing is, we're really trying to provide transit in this very, kind of rural environment where things are very spread out. And we will always have that, right? There's always going to be parts of Humboldt that are far, far flung. But when we have things like, for example, there's housing opportunity zones. If you take the housing opportunity zones and you overlay that with where transit goes or where it can serve, there's absolutely no connection. That they're looking at that by, maybe land use in terms of capacity to develop on it. Is it full of wetlands or other constraints? But not once do we think about, like, could we serve that area with transit before we, encourage a whole bunch of high density housing there. So this would give us that opportunity to build partnerships, not just with transit agencies and, the folks on our TAC who tend to be in the public works departments of our member jurisdictions, but really kind of get into, the community development folks, building our relationships with them as well, thinking about those land use tie-ins. Is there ways that as we plan for development, we can plan for transit at the same time? And we've really built those relationships to have those conversations. It's not an afterthought. It's kind of built into how we do it. And again, it's not going to, solve everything in terms of how spread out we are in what's existing now, but we really could plan for growth a lot better, I think, and have it be served by transit with, just having this opportunity to, get a little extra funding to focus on those partnerships and build those relationships. So that is due on January 18th, and we're kind of full speed ahead on that. We made a lot of progress so far. HTA really has been a total partner in that. We'll be the applicant. We're looking for co-applicants. So we're reaching out to jurisdictions to see if they would like to be included in the grant, because we can write them in and, again, provide compensation for their staff time. There would be still like an 11.75% match that could be paid for in kind, so in staff time. But the most part, we could build in what they need and make sure that their staff are, that we're covering the staff time to participate in the overall work. So we're making those asks right now and sending that out, but just wanted to make sure that was on everybody's radar.
Thank you. Yes.
And I'm assuming that you're taking this to the TAC as well, so that will be a good way to get that word out. Thank you.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
Board comments.
It's board comments, board reports.
All right, so I just wanted to point out, since we're talking about roadways and we've heard, well, we didn't hear tonight too much about Broadway, but we've heard something about that. I just wanted to remind people that tonight or today is the Homeless Memorial Day. And that is a day, because it's the darkest day of the year. It's not really a celebration, I guess. I guess it would be an honoring of people's lives. And this year, every year there's somebody that we lose, but this year I just really want to focus on one person, because that really has gotten me very much more in tune with what's happening with Caltrans on the 101. And his name was Bo Carter. And he died last year. He was hit on Broadway. It wasn't a Frogger situation for those out there that think that's funny. It's not funny. But yeah, he died. He was in a coma for a while. And it was just, it's one of those things where he was getting really close to getting housed. He was really getting close to getting some help. And you just never know when it's time to go, I guess, So I just wanted to, take a moment to remember him, because he was a human and he was a good human. And I also, on that kind of sad note, I want to just bring it back to the good and thank you so much. 24 years is a long time. I know. It's like when she said 2 decades, I was like, oh, don't say it like that. It makes me feel old too, right? So in appreciation and Godspeed with it's going to be,
Thank you.
Your retirement's going to be fabulous. I have no doubt.
Thank you.
Yes.
Through the chair. So 3 projects I wanted to highlight, especially in regards to, what did you say, climate change and resiliency, or climate adaptation? I think, as we all know, more transit and also more trails for not just recreation, but commuting, bicycle. The more we do of that, the more we can reduce car use and things like that. So 3 quick projects. One is the Little River Bridge project. Little River, when you're crossing the Little River, you have no choice. You get on the highway. There is no place else in all of Humboldt County where you literally have no alternate route. unless you're going to go over, around Willow Creek and the Bald Hills to get around. So it is a huge bottleneck, and it was identified by the Coastal Conservancy years ago as one of the missing links in the California Coastal Trail. So we've been working for 25 years to identify solutions, and we've been working with Caltrans the last several years and RCAA and the Coastal Conservancy to develop a safe pathway on the bridges by extending the platform of the bridges out to the west. And that project has now gotten to 30% design. So we're going to be looking for the funding to get it to 100% design. We'll be having a meeting with Caltrans, Coastal Conservancy, and the county and RCAA and the Trinidad Coastal Land Trust in the near future. Peter Jarouche will probably be putting that together from the Coastal Conservancy to figure out how we can move it to final design, permitting, and construction. That will then tie into Scenic Drive because there'll be trails that'll come off of Cornell Road past the Highway Patrol scales to Little River, across the Little River, and up to Scenic Drive. Scenic Drive was Highway 1 before the 64 flood. And then when Caltrans started rebuilding the highways, thank goodness they did, and all the new bridges and everything, they asked the county to take over Scenic Drive. And when that happened, it was because they didn't want to be maintaining both, Highway 101 plus Scenic Drive or Highway 1. And so the county took that on, but at that time there was a $13 million estimate of repair needs for the road in 1967. Anybody that's driven Scenic Drive anytime recently knows that it's probably more like a $40 to $50 million project now. So I'm going to be convening some field trips and other meetings with Senator McGuire and Assemblyman Wood, as well as Congressman Huffman, Caltrans, and others to figure out how can we cobble together the money to help Scenic Drive get its repairs and it be a safe pathway, because it is truly the coastal trail as well. It's a piece of the coastal trail. So I just wanted to mention those two projects in that area. That's going to take us further up into Trinidad and start connecting up into all those parks further north. The other project is in Blue Lake. And just the other day, I sit on the Great Redwood Trail Agency board. I'm the vice chair. And we had a meeting with Ingrid and others from Friends of Annie and Mary, as well as some staff from the Great Redwood Trail, and also Alexis from Caltrans, who's working on an ATP, if I got that right, project from Blue Lake to Glendale Drive to connect to Murphy's Market. That's a piece of the puzzle, and it's proposed to be in the right-of-way, either on the north side of the highway, 299, or on the south side. At first, it was going to be on the north side, but right now, I think the thinking is to look a little more broadly at the options there. But then once you get to Murphy's Market, then what? How do we help people get all the way into Arcata, right? The Great Redwood Trail, that section from Corblex in Arcata to Corbell was abandoned back in the 80s. And so it is not covered under the Surface Transportation Board's action like the rest of the right-of-way. So in some cases, we've lost some easements, but only a few. A lot of it we still own in fee title, the Great Redwood Trail Agency. And so we're going to be negotiating with landowners, et cetera. In addition, now that we've finished the town center draft ordinance planning in McKinleyville, part of the general plan update 4 or 5 years ago by the county was to go and update several community plans. One of those was the Glendale Blue Lake plan outside of the city limits, adjacent to town. Like Blue Lake Boulevard splits county and city, just like Harrison and a few other places in the county. So anyway, there is, we have the Great Redwood Trail, but then we've got to cross over that trestle in the river, which is very dilapidated, probably a hugely expensive effort. And then you get to the other side, and you've got all these trestles at Warren Creek, as well as the West End Road, really narrow, steep off either side of the road. So a lot of geometric issues there. So more recently, we've been thinking about an alternative where once you get to Murphy's Market, you could continue on Glendale Drive all the way to its western terminus, because it's a very low traffic road. There's plenty of right-of-way there, county right-of-way, to put a safe pathway on the side. And once you get to the very western end of Glendale Drive, there's huge right-of-ways on the highway to get you all the way to the river crossing at 299, the big bridge there. You kind of go through where the foam is stored for the Indianola project, the big foam, black plastic covered area. And so what we're going to ultimately need there is something like what we're doing at Little River, where we might expand the footings to allow for the platform to expand out, cross the river, boom, you're into Corblex. That is probably going to be cheaper and quicker to do and more straightforward than using West End Road. At any rate, they're both alternatives. So I just wanted to mention that we're trying to increase the recognition of that as alternatives. Alexis was there, she heard this, but I'll be communicating more with you guys about how do we help move that project forward too, because the current idea from Blue Lake to Glendale Drive serves Blue Lake nicely, but it doesn't serve Glendale. So we're coming to Glendale to update the community plan, and as part of that, we want to look at a trail in Glendale using the old Great Redwood Trail right-of-way. So that we'd have two options there from Blue Lake for the community in Glendale as well. So just a couple of quick updates on some projects there too. So seemed like a good chance to mention those to you. Thank you.
Okay, good ideas. Well, barring any more reports from PAC members and board members, we will adjourn.